most of the people who came back in Bayesheni, at least in the beginning, were not the children and the grandchildren. It was the old timers, and the Gemara proves it from this pasuk that we saw that many of them were still there. And in fact, most of them were there because the sounds of the people crying drowned out the people who were joyous and singing when they laid the foundations of the Beis Hamikdash, right? How could it be that the sounds of the people crying drowned out the sounds of the people who were celebrating? It must be because there were more of them. So most of the people that were there at Bayesheni were A, extremely old people, and C, were former idol worshippers. And they had done tshuva. Okay, and that's why Hashem allowed them to bring the korban. And the Gemara now, here comes a real bombshell. If it hasn't been enough of a bombshell yet, listen to the next question. But they were intentional, they were willful sinners. And Rashi explains, Doro shel Tzidkiah, the generation of Tzidkiah, they were willful sinners. They were not accidental sinners. It's not that they sinned out of ignorance. They knew what they were doing. They served Avodah Zarah on purpose. They were wicked. Ubene katla ninhu, they were guilty of death. What do you do with somebody who serves idolatry intentionally? The Beis Din executes him. What do you mean you're bringing a sacrifice to atone for? How were they given the opportunity to bring a sacrifice and atone for it? They should have been put to death, and if the courts don't put them to death, Hashem should have killed them. Hashem should have given them kares. So how could it be that they were bringing a sacrifice to atone? They could not atone. There is no atonement for willful idol worshippers. They can do tshuva and mitigate the punishment, but they still have to get punished. They can't cheat death. So what happens? Below b'nei korban ninu, Rashi says they are not eligible to bring a sacrifice. Vehechi miskaprim b'hanachatos. How could they have an atonement with these sin offerings? They're not allowed to bring a sin offering. It's useless. Hashem doesn't accept such a sin offering. Listen to what the Gemara says here. 3 more lines. Haras shah haisa. It was a one-time ruling. It was an emergency ruling. In other words, it was against the Jewish law. It was a one-time exception. Rashi explains, Haras shah haisa, the afal gav have mazidin, even though they were intentional, willful sinners, havu miskaprim, they could still receive an atonement. This was a special ruling against the normal Jewish law that they were given the opportunity to bring sacrifices, which Hashem accepted, and he atoned for their willful idolatry. Now, again, who made this ruling? Well, you can't just pull a ruling out of thin air and say, look, I feel bad for these people. I'm just going to make a... No one has the power to do that. So what's the harashah? It must be that a Navi got a message from Hashem. I want these people to bring sacrifices. I'll be pleased with their sacrifices. I will accept them, and I will atone for their sin of idolatry against all the rules. Hashem says, I make the rules, I can break the rules. I'm going against the rule. This is a special emergency ruling for these sinners to bring a sacrifice, and I will accept it, and I will atone for them. Now, first of all, why would Hashem do this? Why would Hashem do this? Why would he break the rules for them? Again, when you think about the context of what's going on, who are these people? These are people who, first of all, have done tshuva. They're sorry that they did the Avodah Zarah. Normally, that's not enough. Not enough for them to be able to bring a sacrifice and to get a full atonement. But nevertheless, think about what they went through. They went through 70 years of Golus, and they were waiting expectantly for the opportunity to go back to Israel. Now they're old people. They're going into enemy territory, surrounded by enemies. Okay? Their children and grandchildren are making fun of them. These foolish old-timers that are trekking back to Israel. Life is good in Golus. We have vineyards, we have fields, we have nice homes. The king is good to us, right? We're getting along with the Goyim. Life is great in Golus. We have Costco and Target. Life is good. Why do you got to go back to Israel? It's a wasteland surrounded by enemies. Rebuild again. What do you need the tzaras for? Stay in Golus. Eliyahu Hanavi didn't come. Mashiach didn't come. The Lubavitcher Rebbe didn't come. Right? The heavens didn't open. Gog and Magog didn't come. What are you doing going back to Israel? The rabbis say stay in Golus. All the great rabbis are in Golus. What are you doing? And these people said, no, we understand. Hashem wants us to go back at the end of the 70 years. So we're going to go. We're old people. It's hard to go. We're up against everything, but we're going to do this anyway. We're sorry we served idolatry, and we're going to go. We're going to make an exceptional effort. We're going to do something completely out of the ordinary to serve Hashem. Hashem says, you're breaking all the rules, all the normal rules of normal living. Normal living would be an old man should stay in Golus with his family, live out his days, and hope for the future. You're doing something exceptional. You're pushing yourself to serve me. Against all rhyme and reason, I'm going to do something exceptional for you. I'm going to break the rules, and I'm going to clean the slate. I'm going to atone for your sin of idolatry. You're not going to die from it. You're not going to be executed. You're not going to get punished in the next world either. I'm going to give you an opportunity to bring a sacrifice and clean the slate. You did something for me, exceptional. I'm going to do something exceptional for you, says Hashem. Imagine that, and imagine how the people must have felt when they brought these sacrifices and they knew that their slate was now clean. Imagine the weight that was lifted off their chest, this burden of idolatry. They were the ones who are immediately responsible for the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. They lived through the destruction, right? They sealed the deal. They sealed the fate. with their idolatry. All the sins that had been piled up by their predecessors, they were the ones who lived through it. So they had this guilt, this responsibility of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, of the exile, all the harm that they caused, right? And they were living with this guilt for 70 years. Now they're old men and they come back. And Hashem says, I'm giving you a chance to do atonement. I'm going to take it away. Imagine the weight that must have been lifted from these people, that all the Jews that are laughing at them and mocking them for coming back to Israel, they knew that Hashem was with them, and Hashem did something exceptional by allowing them to bring the sacrifice. This is a very, very beautiful message, and it drives home the point. If we do something exceptional for Hashem, Hashem will do something exceptional for us.